Daedalus and Icarus. Daedalus of Athens. He was a great architect and a sculptor, the greatest artist of his age. His works were admired in all quarters of the world, and those who beheld his statues said that they lived and moved and saw, that they were not mere likenesses, but animate beings. For while the masters of earlier times had made images with closed eyes, and hands hanging slackly down and joined to the sides of the body, he was the first to give his marble open eyes, hands that reached out, and feet that seemed to walk. But this perfect craftsman was as envious and conceited as he was gifted, and these flaws in his nature tempted him to wrongdoing and drove him to misery. Daedalus began to fear that the name of his pupil would outshine his own. Overcome with envy, he killed the boy in secret, hurling him down from the Acropolis in Athens. But someone saw him digging the grave for his victim. He was accused of murder and pronounced guilty by the court. He escaped and wandered through Attica as a fugitive. Later, he fled to Crete, where King Minos afforded him shelter and honored him as both a distinguished artist and his personal friend. He commissioned Daedalus to build an abode for the Minotaur. The artist drew upon the rich resources of his mind and built the labyrinth, a structure filled with intricate windings which bewildered the eyes and the feet of anyone who entered it. When the building was completed and Daedalus went over to it, he, its builder, could scarcely find a way back to the threshold of the maze he himself had constructed. Daedalus grew oppressed by the long exile from his beloved country and thought of spending the rest of his life on an island encircled by the sea and with a ruler who distrusted even his friends. He became more and more tormented. He pondered a way out. After long reflection, he exclaimed exultantly, "Let Minos block my escape on land and sea, but I shall still have the air. Be he ever so great and powerful, there he is helpless, and through the air I shall depart." It was no sooner said than done. Daedalus yoked nature by the vigor of his imagination. He began to arrange feathers of the birds in certain orders, putting the shortest first and then the longer, so it looked like they had grown of themselves in increasing length. The middle he bound together with linen threads, and at the ends he fastened with wax. Then he bent them into a curve so shallow and gradual that they appeared to be wings. Daedalus had a son by the name of Icarus. The boy watched his father's labors, and his childish hands joined so eagerly in the work. Now he reached for the feathers, whose down stirred at a breath of wind. Now he kneaded the yellow wax between thumb and forefinger. And Daedalus let him be and smiled at the child's awkward efforts. When all was made perfect, he fitted the wings to his body, balanced himself for an instant, and then floated up into the sky, light as any bird. After he lowered himself to the earth, he instructed his young son Icarus, for whom he had just fashioned a smaller pair of wings. "Always fly the middle course, dear child," he said. "If you sink too low, your wings will touch the sea, grow waterlogged, and pull you down into the waves. But if you rise too high into the upper regions of the air, your plumage will approach the sun and catch fire. So fly between sun and sea, and stay close behind me." While he warned him, Daedalus bound the wings to his son's shoulders, but the old man's fingers trembled, and the anxious tear fell on his hands. He took the boy in his arms and kissed him for the last time. And now the two rose upon their wings. The father flew ahead, like a bird who guides her tender brood on their first flight from the nest. He beat his wings so artfully and with care, so that his son might do likewise, and from time to time glanced back to see how he was succeeding. At first, all went well. They passed the island of Samos on their left, then skimmed by Delos and Paros. They saw still other coasts recede and fade, when Icarus, emboldened by the ease of flight, darted out of his father's track and steered to higher zones with boyish daring. But the threatened punishment came swift and sure. The powerful rays of the sun melted the wax which held the feathers in place, and before Icarus was even aware of it, his wings dissolved and fell from his shoulders. The unhappy boy tried to fly with his bare arms, but he could not hold the air, and suddenly he plunged headlong through the sky. He wanted to call for his father for help, but before he could open his lips, the blue sea had closed above him. It all happened very quickly. And now Daedalus, looking back as he did from time to time, no longer saw his son. "Icarus? Icarus!" he called through the empty space. "Where shall I look for you in the regions of air?" At last his trouble-searching eyes glanced downward, and he saw the feathers floating on the water. Descending, he laid aside his wings and paced the coast until the waves cast the boy's body on the sand. Frantic with sorrow, Daedalus journeyed to Sicily. The ruler of this great island was King Cocalus, who received Daedalus just as hospitably as Minos of Crete had once done. The work of the artist astonished and delighted the people. For many years, one of the sights of the country was an artificial lake he had made from a broad river that poured into a nearby ocean. On a rocky plateau where the space was only for a few trees and which was so steep that it could never be stormed, he built a city. He also enlarged Aphrodite's temple on the promontory and dedicated to the goddess a golden honeycomb so artfully wrought that it looked as though the bees themselves had modeled the six-sided cells. Daedalus remained in Sicily and enjoyed the unwavering favor of his host. He attracted many famous masters to him and became the founder of a school of sculptors there. But he himself had felt no happiness since the death of his son Icarus, and while he made the land which had given him refuge serene and radiant by the work of his hands, he passed into a troubled and mournful old age. He died in Sicily and was buried.